Ethiopia, located in the Horn of Africa, is a special place offering heterogeneous cultural and historical as well as natural attractions. Globetrotters can experience everything from art, festivals and cultural practices to unique buildings, breathtaking nature and much more. Few nations, if any, can boast the historic splendor of Ethiopia, evidence of whose extraordinary past is everywhere, from its rock-hewn churches, still places of living worship, to its ancient historical traditions and magnificent cultures. Ethiopia is a nation of surprises, full of diversity and contrast, from the ancient to the modern, to mention just a few. Ethiopia is also a land of unique religious festivities, celebrating them in their own unique ways. For instance, while the Gregorian calendar celebrates Christmas on the 25th of December, Ethiopia still retains the ancient Julian calendar, in which Christmas is celebrated on January 8, and it also falls on January 7 every 4 years, like this year's festival. The Ethiopian name of Christmas is Lidet or Gena, which, according to elders, comes from the word Ganana, meaning eminent, to express the coming of the Lord and the freeing of mankind from sin. Ethiopian Christmas is celebrated seriously by a church service that goes on throughout the night, with people moving from one church to another. On the eve of the celebration, people stay in churches doing their last prayer, and around 3 after midnight, special chanting, singing and dancing will be done by decorated priestesses and deacons, declaring the birth of Jesus Christ. People disperse to their homes to feast, and the clergy break their fast. Food and drink are plentiful, with many homes preparing special meals for the festival. Food served for Christmas include chicken stew, which literally means dorowot, a spicy cook eaten with injera, a unique, slightly spongy flatbread. Taj, a local drink made from honey, accompanies the feast. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo, Catholic and Evangelical churches mark the eve with special mass, hymns and biblical references, and with spiritual songs and reading of the Gospels and prayers commemorating Jesus' birth.
We have different kinds of activities during the time of Christmas. Especially in church, we have hymnal services and liturgical service all night. And also we have different religious services as well, in addition to our liturgical services. Especially the Christians always visit to the poor people and sharing a common meal with sick people and the poor people and their neighbors as well. For instance, the Christians can invite to the Muslims to sharing their holidays with wonderful traditional meals, and even the Muslims do or did the same thing with the Christians. So we have such kind of strong tradition, I think, in around the church, and in social integrations also can reflected during the time of Christmas. So this is a good opportunity for our people to communicate with their neighbors and with other friends and families.
Various tourists say that Ethiopians celebrate Christmas in a stirringly unique way, getting right to their heart.
Your Christmas celebration is very different from our celebration, but it is very stirring, very emotional. I pick up some of the nuance. It gets right to your heart. With the chanting, you can feel your pulse go up and down with the chanting. It's a very emotional experience, very rewarding. It's just that it's so unique. It's the same because we're celebrating the same thing, the birth of Jesus Christ, but we celebrate it differently. So I think it means the same to me as it means to you. We just do it differently.
The church is much more subdued in the United States, and to see the energy and the chanting and the dancing and the drumming, as well as the ritual with the processions, it's a beautiful, beautiful ceremony.
They speak of how the celebration brings people closer and closer, fostering peaceful coexistence.
Well, I think if you carry the meaning of the entire celebration into your life, it makes you a better person. It makes you more accepting of other people, more tolerant of everyone else. I think it's perhaps more oriented to a peaceful existence. If we accept the prayers and the meaning of the entire experience.
They say it is a privilege to worship Christmas the Ethiopian way, which gives an ecstatically overwhelming pleasure.
It was so touching. I feel some sense of ecstasy to the point where it was almost overwhelming. I could feel the tears in my eyes from the joy. It was really beautiful. I feel privileged to be able to worship with Ethiopian people.
The tourists whom I met at the churches are astounded by how Ethiopians worship the Lord.
It's entirely different to us. We have celebrations, but it's not like this. And it's wonderful to see how relaxed all the people were, and yet how involved they were with listening to everything.
I noticed so many of the women especially, and even some of the men, laying on the benches and on the floor, just quietly, and to me it was like resting in the Lord. And I thought that was so beautiful, how comfortable they were, just lying down and just receiving the love that was there being offered.
They have this impression that Ethiopians' hospitality is vivid even to those who have just entered the country.
It is my first time in Ethiopia. I'm very familiar with Malawi, but Ethiopia is different. But I noticed there are some things the same. The women, when the chanting was going on, the women make a noise, which is the same in Malawi when there's a celebration. I've only been here for a short time, but the Ethiopians seem to be very warm and accepting, very friendly, very open to meeting people and saying hello, salam.
Well, we've only been here a day and a half, and so I'm just experiencing it. But if I were to say, this has been a magnificent experience, and so we're starting off with just so much joy, and the people have been so kind.
I think it could play an incredible role. I noticed that there was a lot of filming going on. If it was consolidated into a presentation, I think to show it to the rest of the world could be very meaningful. Not just to Christians, but to people from all religions. It's a very stirring celebration.
More people saw things like this, saw how people celebrated their religion. I think that it would certainly make life easier for people to look at other people and learn to respect them.
ideal site to attend the celebration of Ethiopian Christmas is at the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela. Though Christmas can colorfully be celebrated at any part of the country, it is celebrated in a very attractive way in Lalibela due to the match of the birth of King Lalibela on Christmas Day. Having attended the celebration of Christmas at Lalibela rock-hewn churches, Ethiopian President Dr. Mulatu Teshome mentioned that religious festivities are immensely contributing for the development of the country's tourism sector.
All tangible and intangible heritage in the country should be wisely protected to make them more attractive to tourists and get them inscribed in the World Heritage List to generate more revenue. If the country keeps maximizing its revenue from various sources, particularly from tourism, it will ensure its ambition of joining middle economies by 2025.
Cognizant of the indispensability of protecting the country's ancient heritage, President Mulatu has demanded stakeholders at various levels to play their role in preserving the century-old heritage in Lalibela.
The churches in this holy place of Lalibela reflect the level of civilization of Ethiopia in the 12th century. These living heritage need to be well protected and passed to generations to come with relentless efforts of relevant stakeholders.
Regarding what the government has been doing to make the best out of the nation's untapped tourism potentials, it is working to make Ethiopia one of the 10 best destinations in Africa in the second growth and transformation plan. Chief of the state of Amhara, Gaddu Andargacho, also said his government is keen to do what it takes to make the best out of the heritage in Lalibela.
የቤዛ ሁሉ ስነ ስርዓት ሃይማኖታዊ ስነ ስርዓት በዓለም አቀፍ ደረጃ እንዲታወቅ
We have applied to UNESCO for the rituals of Beza Kullu to be registered as one of World Heritage. It has to be well protected and promoted with the view to passing it from generation to generation. Hence, the state of Amhara will do all it can for the cause.
Provided that Christmas is warmly celebrated at Lalibela, pilgrims and tourists flocked the holy site 2 weeks ahead to attend the ceremony and get blessed. By the same token, Orthodox Christians across Russia marked Christmas early Thursday morning with a special midnight mass held in the Cathedral of Christ the Savior in Moscow. Head of the Russian Orthodox Church, Patriarch Kirill led the mass, reciting a Christmas liturgy attended by hundreds of worshippers. Coptic Christians in Egypt also celebrated Christmas in Cairo's St. Mark Cathedral with Pope Tawadros II, head of the Coptic Church, leading the Mass. Similarly, the Greek Orthodox Patriarch of Jerusalem, Theophilus III, led the Mass at the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem, marking Orthodox Christmas. meaning eminent, to express the coming of the Lord and the freeing of mankind from sin. Ethiopian Christmas is celebrated seriously by a church service that goes on throughout the night, with people moving from one church to another. On the eve of the celebration, people stay in churches doing their last prayer, and around 3 after experience everything from art, festivals, and cultural practices to unique buildings, breathtaking nature, and much more. Few nations, if any, can boast the historic splendor of Ethiopia, evidence of whose extraordinary past is everywhere, from its rock-hewn churches, still places of living worship, to its ancient historical Ethiopia, located in the Horn of Africa, is a special place offering heterogeneous cultural and historical as well as natural attractions. Globetrotters can experience traditions and magnificent cultures. Ethiopia is a nation of surprises, full of diversity and contrast, from the ancient to the modern, to mention just a few. Ethiopia is also a land of unique religious festivities, celebrating them in their own unique ways. For instance, while the Gregorian calendar celebrates Christmas on the 25th of December, Ethiopia still retains the ancient Julian calendar, in which Christmas is celebrated on January 8, and it also falls on January 7 every 4 years, like this year's festival. The Ethiopian name of Christmas is Lidet or Gena, which, according to elders, comes from the word Gena,